Hello. So I'm just going to jump right into it. In 1984, Andy Warhol produced this painting in his typical screen print style based on a photograph by Lynn Goldsmith. Over 30 years later, the painting was used as a magazine cover and brought to the attention of Goldsmith, who then sued for copyright infringement. This case went all the way up to SCOTUS, and the majority opinion found that the Warhol work was not sufficiently distinct from the original photograph, that it shares substantially the same purpose as the original, it's of a commercial nature, and the underlying art is recognizable in the new art. So what is this? This sets a precedent for our understanding of the creative input required to meet fair use. I'm not going to comment on whether I agree or disagree with this particular case, but I want you to keep this standard in mind as we look at machine learning in the music business. I do want to comment without getting too into the weeds. From my perspective, I believe that cases of copyright claims over chord progressions and song structures are rarely, if ever, legitimate. Look up the Ed Sheeran Marvin Gaye lawsuits if you're interested. Point 1. Copyright for machine learning. Okay, so in 2024, the US Copyright Office released its first in a series of reports on policy issues surrounding this. Reading through it, you won't find a consistent legal precedent. Some courts argue that you can find copies or protected elements of copyrighted works in a trained model. Other courts did not agree. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to argue that all parties, including artists, generative AI users, record labels, platforms, should recognize that a model may contain substantial expression from the artistic works that it learns from. In other words, the AI outputs imply a reproduction of the original work. Granted, AI isn't always going to be detectable, and there's always gray zones with artistic licenses, but working with each other under a common framework should prevent conflicts between actors and hopefully preserve structures for artists to receive credit and compensation for their work. Okay, point 2, transformative work in music. So Google's Music LM isn't the most popular tool for AI music. By far the biggest companies right now are Suno and Udio, and if you try and use them, you'll see that their tools are much better at making these quick and easy pop songs. But the reason we're looking at Google Music LM is because it's transparent, and they have completely published their training data and the underlying technology in academic journals. So Music LM uses musical and sound design datasets, huge datasets of audio and MIDI files to generate a pretty wide variety of musical outputs. Here's funky jazz. That one's not very good, but we will see some much better AI jazz later in this talk. Like I said, Google has made the training data available publicly, so let's look at this one called AudioSet. AudioSet is an ontology of sounds, including music, but also animals, machines, and human languages, annotated by real people. It importantly does not include artist metadata. The thing about this dataset is that it's not just commercially recorded music, like Enya's Christmas, or live recordings of professional musicians. It's pretty much any video on YouTube with a recognizable sound. Google owns YouTube, so the terms of service are engineered such that users give Google permission just by uploading their content. The Music LM cross-references user text prompts with the metadata of these clips and generates audio files with the features based on that. And at this point, you might be asking, so what? Some people don't mind companies using their data for training models. We can talk about artistic integrity and the value of human art all day, but you can look at these guys. They're just normal people putting content on YouTube. Like if you rudely interrupted this man playing the didgeridoo here and told him he was now a part of Google AI music, do you think he would be upset? You can't just lobby against something simply because you don't like it. But actually, yes, I can. There is a risk of harm in devaluing human creativity, which segues to our next point. Point 3, so what? So there's a well-documented link between auditory and motor systems. Common BPMs align with our walking pace, around 100 to 10, 120 BPM. Musicians have better rhythm when moving their whole body to the tempo rather than standing still. Broadly, musical enjoyment is linked to physical sensations, and in turn, the perception of music is a very personal, culturally specific experience. So I think that right now, audiences are far less receptive to Gen AI on the basis that it was not performed, written, or composed by people. And these are reasons why listeners value artists like Beethoven and Beyonce and the Velvet Sundown as people and not just for the music they leave behind. Except the Velvet Underground are not real people. It's a project by an anonymous creator using generative AI tools released in 2025. Spotify and its rival platforms have no firm policies regarding Gen AI on their platforms. Why would someone bother to put a fake band on Spotify? Unless you're a major name, one of the common paths to generating revenue with streaming is by securing a spot on Spotify's automatically curated mood playlists. So this is like when you go on the platform and you just search workout music or lo-fi beats. The goal for Velvet Sundown is to push out massive quantities of audio that is optimized for automated playlist generation and to rack up millions of passive listens. But with how easy it is to produce this stuff, this isn't the only one. There are probably thousands of Gen AI artists already on Spotify. If you've ever looked up something like relaxing jazz music or something like that, you've guaranteed listened to some supposed artist who has millions of plays, and yet when you Google their name, it's like they only exist on streaming platforms and have no presence anywhere else. It's because they were a ghost the whole time. Ghost artists like Mose Iverson are trained on music from actual jazz pianists and soak up bandwidth from passive listeners. They're crowding out the actual living, breathing artists that they were based on, making it that much harder to be a working musician. And that's a problem. Part 4, What Now? Our proposed framework. Any artist who is included in a training dataset should be credited as a co-writer. That might sound unwieldy, but consider the median song on the Billboard Top 100 has 4.5 songwriters. This number balloons to the tens when you include samples. I don't think this is an unrealistic solution. Royalties should be distributed between all credited songwriters. This discourages Gen AI users from flooding platforms with low-quality AI works for profit. Distribution services already have protocols dividing royalties between multiple songwriters. This extends beyond streaming to the realms of TV, film, and advertising licenses. Should companies allow content on their platforms to be collected for training data? At present, Spotify does not explicitly allow its library to be used as training data. YouTube, Google should do the same until they credit the original creators. Labels could effectively license out their artists to be included in training data. Should AI content be labeled in the context of artistic works and entertainment? AI content should be expected to be labeled or flagged in the context of artistic works and entertainment. Fraud will always be attempted under this system, but this should also discourage the mass inflow of low-quality AI works. I think that these are practicable steps towards addressing this issue and help secure a future for the creative industry. So let me know if you have any critique or suggestions. Thanks.